Welcome to Physics Twist. This week in Science and Technology, the Australian science news podcast for the scientifically curious, both neophytes and crackerjacks alike. We are powered by Physics Education, leading science communicators in the education space. It is our job to deliver exciting science content all around Australia, and what better way to do that than with a special guest? It's Kate.
Hey, friend.
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
Excellent. We've got some fun things to talk about today, and some not fun things, but, you know, it's all good. Also, don't forget, we have an Instagram account now, as you know, Kate, I'm sure.
Yes, I do.
Which is at Physics Twist.
What's on, Watson?
Cool. All right, well, Kate, welcome back to the podcast. Last time that you were on here, what did we talk about?
We talked about probably the same kind of thing we're going to talk about today.
And what's that?
It's Girls in Science.
Girls in Science.
Because earlier in the week it was International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And it's soon going to be International Women's Day. And so what better time to talk about girls and women and the cool STEM things that they do?
Yeah, perfect. So 2018, groundbreaking, oh God, my words, groundbreaking year for women in STEM.
Yes.
Tell me more.
So lots of things happened in 2018, and I think that's kind of, I was like, what am I going to talk about? Oh, I know. I'll talk about all the things that have happened since the last time I came on here and talked about girls in science, because why not? For everything from, like, Nobel Prizes to people donating exorbitant amounts of money to improve the state of women and girls in STEM. Lots of great things.
So there was a Nobel Prize to who?
There were two. So this year, 2 women won Science Nobel Prizes. First up was Donna Strickland, who was the 3rd woman and the first in 55 years.
55 years.
I know, to win the Nobel Prize for Physics.
Right.
So she joins Marie Curie, who won it in 1903, and... Oh no, I've just blanked on a name. That's awful. Someone who won it in 1963. And I'm sure someone out there will be able to be like, Kate, it was this person, you idiot.
I think that person will be Future Duncan.
Future Duncan will put in here the name that Kate has conveniently forgotten in this 30 seconds. Yeah.
That was Maria Gerbert-Meyer, who in 1963 shared the prize with Eugene Wigner and Johannes Jensen for her pioneering work on the structure of the nucleus of the atom. Perfect. So Marie Curie was the radioactive woman.
Yes.
Wasn't she? Yeah. She famously had, in her lab, which you can still go to, the door handle that she used, I think you're not allowed to touch it because...
It's still radioactive. Yeah. I mean, like, cool, but in the same breath, it's slightly terrifying. Slightly terrifying.
So the International Day of Women and Girls in Science was just this past...
Monday. It was, February 11th.
February 11th. So we're recording on Thursday, February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
For all you lovers out there.
I just love science. That's why I'm on the pod.
Right.
That's why I'm on the pod today. Just sharing the love.
Valentine.
Science is my Valentine.
Nice one.
But yeah, there was a second Nobel Prize as well.
Yep, who was that?
Frances Arnold, who was the 5th woman ever to win the Nobel Prize for chemistry. So,
right.
yeah.
And when was the last time that a woman won that, just off the top of your head, if you happen to know?
Good question.
Yeah.
Much more recently.
Okay.
Much more recently, but...
than the 55
years. I mean, what astounds me about the 55 years is it's like 55 years going back, and then it was like 60 years before that. So... You know, we've been waiting patiently for the physics one. We're a little bit more recognised in Chem, but it's still. I mean, with only 5 women who've won it, that's still like.
Well, especially in physics, that is outrageous. Like, he's hoping that it's not another 55.
Oh, one would hope.
One would hope. Strides are being made.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I would
some.
expect that not to be the case.
There's some number about like it's like there's only 52 women who've ever won a Nobel Prize compared to like. Literally hundreds of men. And you're like, so the fact we've got 2 in science this year is like, yay,
How
women.
many Nobel Prizes are handed out each year? There's about 10 different disciplines,
It sort of
isn't it?
depends, because it depends a little bit on the discipline.
Yeah.
So there's a few different categories.
And people can share prizes as well.
So the physics one, for example, this year was actually shared between 3 people, but all under the sort of category of laser physics. So this was a little bit... I know, it's such a great...
Laser
physics. But... so it does tend to go to particular pieces of research rather than necessarily to a particular individual.
Yep. And they win a cool $1 million for that.
So yeah, some
like that.
nice healthy amount of
I wonder if
finances.
the three would have to split it, or do they get $1 million bucks each?
I'm fairly sure it's split, but I
That would
would
make more
have
sense,
to.
wouldn't it?
I would have to check that to be able to tell you the exact answer.
So really what you want to do is you want to work with other people to make sure that you are doing fantastic work, and then accidentally leave their name off the article when you submit it to journals.
Well, I mean, that tends to be viewed as quite rude and stuff. And I mean, there is. I'm going to talk about someone hopefully shortly that where you're like, that poor research student who came up with a brilliant idea who didn't get recognised, but their supervisor did.
Oh, brutal.
So that happens. So I've just pulled up the information about Nobel laureates. There've been 17 women who've won the Peace Prize, 14 who've won the Nobel Prize for Literature, 12 who've won it in physiology or medicine, and then 5 for chemistry, 3 for physics, and 1 for economic science.
Well, that's to be fair, that's a newer discipline.
It is a definitely a
it's
newer
only been
one.
included since the 70s. That's a total guess, but it sounds about right to me.
Yeah, feels suitably accurate. And in terms of when the last chemistry one was won before this year, it was back in 2009, so not that long ago at all.
Well,
really.
I mean, again, that is 10 years ago, so
Well,
it's longer than
9.
it should.
It was one last year,
Okay,
so
sure,
9
yeah,
9 years.
9
But, and you know, that's probably a little bit more reasonable. We've won them more recently. We women, I speak for all women right now, apparently,
fair enough,
have won it more recently in physiology and medicine and things like that, rather than necessarily in chemistry per se. Before that, it's a long way back. She says 1964. So, you know, 2009 to now, better than like 64 to now.
64, that makes it, 55 years.
Yeah,
golly.
coming up, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What else is there? So there's some other winnings?
Yeah, so the woman I mentioned just before, the research student, so her title now is Professor Dame Jocelyn Bell Burnell.
Great
for
name.
her, it's a good double-barreled B name. I like it. So she won the Special Breakthrough Prize in Fundamental Physics, which has also been won by the likes of, I don't know, Stephen Hawking, people like that.
Who?
Oh, I know, that guy. And it's worth $3 million. So she actually won it for her life's work, which is awesome, especially because it takes into account that supervisor who may have taken credit for her things back in the 70s. Sneaky bugger. But she immediately announced that she was going to use that money. She didn't want it for herself. She was going to use that money to create scholarships to enable women and other underrepresented minorities, like refugees, people like that, to study physics, so that the landscape of physics can change in the future. So it's not just the same type of people's ideas. You get a much more disparate and more interesting.
Which is great, because those people far less likely to end up going to university in the first place, because it's much more difficult to achieve that, and then to go on further in academia.
Yeah,
so I think it's really great.
She's the second woman ever to win that award. I don't know who the first one was. Sorry.
You can tell I've been quizzing you.
I know. I can feel it. But what I loved was the quote that one of the quotes she gave was that she feels like this is going to, quote, bring a fresh angle on things. End quote.
Nice.
Like that's how she sort of put it in terms of what the scholarships are going to be for.
Cool.
Which is great.
Then there's Eureka Prizes?
Yeah, the Eureka Prizes. So there are some of the Australian awards, which I think is great to look at those, because we don't just need to look globally, we need to look locally and sort of where we're based. And lots of awards this year to women, especially people doing a lot of mentoring and being good representatives in terms of making sure that the road is clear for women coming through in the future.
So, they always talk about standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Sort of thing plays into it nicely,
Yeah, so the Emerging Leader in Science award went to Associate Professor Elizabeth New from USyd. So she's regarded as one of Australia's brightest young inorganic chemists. So for her, it's all about teaching and outreach and mentoring and developing that next generation of scientists and collaborating and improving that research culture and those kind of environments.
Wonderful
stuff.
Because in that sort of demographic, mentoring would be super, super important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I came through chemistry and specifically physical chem and stuff, and it absolutely was like, oh, look, I'm the only girl in the lab. That's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's definitely going to make a massive difference. And then the outstanding mentor of young researchers. So, like, Elizabeth New won the sort of emerging leader, and this is sort of the next category going up, was Nalini Joshi out of USyd as well. And she's been a big push behind Science in Australia Gender Equity, which is the SAGE project, which is transforming the research landscape by increasing support and retention of female researchers in STEM. So trying to kind of, you get them in the front, like get them in the door, got to keep us all around for the longer term.
Now, I see you can also tell me a little bit about some major discoveries. Mm-hmm. So this is just for the past year. Yeah, that we're talking here.
Yeah, just in the
by women and girls.
By women and girls. So
past year.
Lots of groundbreaking research. I mean, there were a large number of women. I know your personal passion at the moment is Mars, and lots of loving of space.
Has been for quite some time.
Yep. So just pointing out that the NASA InSight probe had a lot of women on that team.
Yeah.
Just a couple, including what's her name? Including Pauline Huang, who was the mission operations system lead. So she's like...
Yeah. I think I have watched videos with, like, interviews on YouTube with her.
Yeah. So she's awesome.
Yeah. The woman who... this is a woman who runs the onboard chemistry lab on Curiosity. Mm-hmm. That's the one that they made sing Curiosity Happy Birthday to itself.
That's right. Yeah. It's so great.
So good.
I mean, that whole thing about bringing different angles to self. Let's talk about making rovers sing a little song to themselves. I mean, why not?
So good.
But the women have contributed in a whole bunch of different ways. Everything from, like, looking at the timescale of life's origins on Earth right the way through to 3D printing replacement bits of brain and lung. I mean, I have a personal shout out to Professor Stephanie Page.
Really?
Yeah, I can't imagine why I'd be pro the idea of someone behind the development of the male contraceptive being a woman. I think that's
there's a certain beauty in that.
There's a certain beauty.
But I also just want to leave that one alone a little.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I intended on touching on that and moving straight on. But the other one that I thought was really interesting was lab-grown human eggs. So that idea of, you're looking down that sort of...
Lab-grown? I can't even fathom how that works.
No, neither can I. And that's what I think's so fascinating, because someone's brain out there has just gone, ping, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
That's
we'll have to talk
Evelyn
about
Teller.
that on a future episode. Evelyn Teller.
Teller.
I'll look into that. That's really interesting. Perfect. Anything else you want to tell me? Or should we move on, do you think?
Just one thing I'd like to touch on, which I think is fascinating, there's a researcher whose name's Jessica Wade, and she made massive headlines in the middle of last year in July, where she wrote, in the previous 12 months, more than 270 Wikipedia pages for under-recognised female scientists, just to increase their public recognition. Just being like, I'm going to sit and write Wikipedia pages so that people can get recognised.
That's great.
I'm like, that's great. I think that's just...
Because really, that is kind of like... Having a Wikipedia page is almost the barometer for being a public figure.
Yeah.
If you don't have a Wikipedia page, and maybe in the media world it might be an IMDb page, but for scientists definitely, you got to have a Wikipedia. Or a ResearchGate, but I think a lot of people have those.
But I think the benefit of Wikipedia is it's like things like ResearchGate and IMDb, you're going there for a specific purpose. Like you're looking for a particular scientist, or you're looking for a particular performer or whatever.
Yeah.
Wikipedia is the place where you're like, I'm looking for stuff.
Yeah, and it's also like you have to be a certain level of notoriety or fame or recognition in order to actually make it to Wikipedia. So just by sort of creating that page, it's like you automatically have that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you look at the number of athletes who have them and they're like 3 lines, it's like, why can't a scientist have exactly the same thing?
Absolutely, because it's like people who played one season of rugby in 1971. They've got a Wikipedia page.
Yeah. I mean, there are sports out there that very few people watch, and yet all of the athletes have.
Yeah, and it's got all their stats and everything.
And you're like, cool.
Yeah. Okay, excellent to see some representation there. Wonderful. So that was the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, which was February 11th, just this past Monday. And International Women's Day, which is coming up. That is March. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, you are putting me on the spot because you put this into my notes. And you've forgotten the date. So I'm just going to plug for time for like 30 seconds while I remind myself what date it is. But it is March. Yep. It is on...
the 30th?
March 8.
March 8. Okay, much sooner.
Balance for better. That's the hashtag this year. That's right.
Balance for better.
Balance for better.
So, I thought we would, celebrate those 2 days. One past, one future. And really good summing up there, Kate.
Ta.
Really like that one. Appreciate it. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so big news. Mm-hmm. Big news.
Sad news.
Sad news. This is the segment that I like to call Far Out with Duncan. And some of you, hopefully many, if not all of you, have listened to the Mars Rover Magic episode, which came out in last year. What was it? July, August, something like that? Something like that. Which was all about the Opportunity, Spirit, and Curiosity rovers. It was a lot of fun to make. And I think it ended fairly positively looking forward, but there were moments in there where we're like, oh, I'm not sure what's happening here. The future is very uncertain. So I just want to talk about Opportunity, the rover, very briefly, which basically is a small-ish solar-powered rover that landed on Mars in 2004, did some amazing things, like finding the first extraterrestrial meteorite, concrete evidence that large bodies of water once existed on Mars, and evidence of environments with a chemistry that would have been suitable for life. So, like, that water, for example, would have had a neutral pH, meaning that it's neither too acidic nor too alkaline for life to have actually existed, like water here, right? So basically, Opportunity found that similar conditions previously has existed on Mars at some time in the past. So a lot of things happened while it's been up there. In 2005, it actually looked like the Opportunity mission was already over because it actually dug itself into a sand dune, effectively, driving into its own grave, because the onboard computers basically couldn't see that it was sinking. And so it just drove in and in and in. The wheels just kept turning and turning and turning because it didn't realize what was happening. And then it went, oh, I think I'm a little bit stuck here. And it took 5 weeks for NASA engineers to get Opportunity out. The way they did it was they would drive like a centimetre at a time, then have Opportunity snap a photo and send it back, and then they go, okay, that worked, or that didn't work, here's what we need to do next. And eventually they got it out, which is absolutely amazing. So Opportunity did some other things, like taking photos of clouds on Mars. Yes, there are actually clouds on Mars. It's quite amazing. It does have an atmosphere. Not much, but enough of an atmosphere to have clouds. Took photos of dust devils, also because there is an atmosphere out there. And yeah, so much more. So, last year, June-ish, this is the sort of event that actually spurred the creation of the Mars Rover Magic episode. There was a dust storm that formed on Mars. Initially, it was about 1,000 kilometres away from Opportunity, which is about the same distance as Sydney to Melbourne. And then within a couple of days of that dust storm forming, it covered the whole planet, the whole thing. And then, since Opportunity actually runs on solar power, all the dust in the atmosphere was blocking sunlight. And so it was going, I'm starving, I'm so cold, please help me. And then the dust would settle on the actual solar panels, and, it's just kind of starving up there, they were like, oh, this is not really good. So basically it eventually ran out of batteries, entered a sort of low power, safe mode. And since then, NASA's been hoping that the winds, the Martian winds, would actually clean the settled dust off the solar panels. That has actually happened before, which is amazing. And that would allow it to receive more sunlight, then power it up again. And they've been attempting to contact Opportunity to see if it's woken up ever since then. So that is where we left the story in the Mars Rover Magic episode. Quite uncertain. Now, as of, well, actually I think it was today, possibly yesterday, this morning, word has come through from NASA that has not happened. And Opportunity has been declared officially dead. So sad.
Poor little Opportunity. Poor Oppie.
Yeah. So it's quite amazing, actually, because Opportunity initially was only meant to drive 1 kilometre over the span of 90 days when they launched it in 2004. It ended up travelling more than 45 kilometres over 15 years. Absolutely amazing. So the best example of any product working far beyond its warranty expiring.
Can we just like get that kind of longevity for like all technology? That'd be great.
Listen up, Apple. No, I'm not going to defame you on the podcast. That's probably a bad idea. We'll hear from their lawyers, won't we?
Especially given the product that you're currently, we're both currently using in front of us.
Love their products. Love them. Fantastic. This has actually been very reliable, I might add. Please don't contact us, lawyers. Anyway, so it is a bit of a sad day. It is a bit of a sad day that it's finally dead, but it's a positive one as well, because Opportunity showed a lot of resilience, lasting, 60 times longer
At least.
60 times longer than it was originally supposed to. So the guy called Thomas Zurbuchen, I hope that's right, he's an associate administrator of NASA's Science Mission Directorate, said, officially this morning, I declare the Opportunity mission as complete. And with it, the Mars Exploration Rover mission complete, which I think is a much happier spin on this event than saying it's dead.
Yeah, I feel like that's much nicer.
Yeah.
It's concluded. It's over.
Absolutely.
It's not just the poor little Opportunity is dead.
Yeah. So I think rather than saying, let's be sad about it, that's a terrible thing, we should be absolutely celebrating the life of Opportunity. 15 years, not bad at all for something that's supposed to last 90 days, 3 months. Very, very resilient little fella. Or
little robot.
Yeah, little robot. So rather than a sad goodbye, it is a mission complete. So well done, Opportunity.
Yeah. Yay! I've been loving this morning all of the thanks Oppie hashtag all over Twitter. With everyone just being like, this is all the positive things.
Yeah,
it's been
really
cute.
good. There's a great comic that I saw by XKCD, I'm sure you're familiar with, and it was talking about how one day we might be able to travel to Mars and see Opportunity there, and if we could power it back up, it would be like traveling around being like, hey, look at this. Like, I'm so excited. This is a thing that I found, and look, this is this massive cliff over here, and here's this body of water that I found.
And here's where I dug myself out, and it was so great.
It was so cool.
Oh, it just, part of me hopes that, like, one day he'll wake up again. It'll wake up again.
Yeah, there is actually an example of you wouldn't call it a satellite, but a spacecraft of some sort that was officially declared dead. I think it was in the 80s, and 25 years later, it sent back a signal that it was actually alive. I can't remember what it's called, but I might throw it in the in the description. So cool. 25 years.
That kind of stuff makes me happy. You know, maybe the winds aren't blowing hard enough. We've given up too soon. We just need to need to be like Opportunity and persist a little longer.
What's 25 years from now? Is that
25 years from now would be
2044.
2044. Yeah.
So maybe in the year 2044 approximately we'll be hearing from Opportunity.
Yep. Never know.
Fingers crossed.
Never know. We might be there by then.
Yeah. True. Maybe Elon Musk will walk up to it and say, "G'day, mate. How's it going?"
2028, I think is the target at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck. Cool. So there we go. Well done, Opportunity.
Yeah.
Moving on. It's a segment that I like to call Viralgram. And I don't know if you've actually read about this one, Kate. Have you seen this thing I'm about to talk?
Vaguely. I feel like it's one of those things that I've seen on the internet, but not like delved into the world of this on the internet.
I love this one. This is again a little bit of a funny one. So at Physics Twist, we apparently now love stories about seals doing silly things. You might remember the story from last year about seals getting eels stuck up their noses. Well, folks, here we go again. Those cheeky little guys. A pair of researchers in New Zealand made a discovery a couple of weeks ago while analysing some seal poop. And inside one of the samples that they collected of this seal excrement, apparently about the size of 2 dinner rolls, if you must know, they found something quite strange, something that really should not be there. And that little thing was a USB stick inside seal poop. What are they eating? What's in their diet? So they're getting seal stuck up their noses, they're eating USBs.
I mean, my only thought is it's an accident in the same way that we might accidentally eat like a hair while you're eating your dinner or something, but like it's a decently sizable thing to swallow by accident.
But it's strange that, because what happened was there was actually photos and images on the USB stick. Yeah. So it's like you hear about people dropping their cameras and things.
Yeah.
And you can retrieve the SD card, but someone specifically carried a USB stick and then dropped it as a little present.
Unless it was like it got swallowed by a fish and then that fish got eaten by the seal and then the seal pooped it out, because that's the like...
This could be a setup. Someone could have put the USB stick inside of like bait.
Yeah.
And then just dropped it in. And then, fish could have eaten it, or the seal could have eaten it directly, and then they would have gone, "Oh, it's so funny, they had the USB stick." But it's a setup, I'm telling you.
Yeah, or it was like attached. Maybe it was attached to something, like not like a GoPro, but that kind of idea of like it's attached to something that's tracking, and it's fallen off, and
Yeah.
been eaten because it's brightly coloured and they're like, oh, this looks delicious.
Yeah, maybe the USB stick looks like a fish. Maybe it's one of those ones that has a funny design or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, they discovered the USB stick inside of the poop, and remarkably, it actually still worked. So,
Which is insane.
which is great. I love it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Technology at its finest.
So there's images on it. There's actually a video as well. In one of the photos, you can see a sea lion, which is rolling on the sand on a beach. And in the video, there's actually someone in a kayak, which I've watched the video. I'll put a link to it in the description as well, where there's like they're following a seal and her little pup around in the water. It is cute as a button, I'm telling you. And they're like popping up their heads really curiously. It's so cute. I love seals. So that really the only hint that we have of the owner is footage of this blue kayak and someone's red rubber shoes. So it's like we have absolutely no idea.
Whoever you are out there,
If you're listening.
If you're listening, just shout us out.
Yep. Yeah, Physics Twist sent me, and I'm here to collect my USB stick.
Yeah.
However, if you do want to go and collect your USB stick, there is a catch. So, the NIWA, which is the organisation that these researchers belong to, they put up a few images and they said, if you want to collect this, there's a catch. And the catch is, it comes with a price. The price is, I'm just speaking the same thing over and over again.
Try again.
The catch is, they'd like some more seal poop, please. In order to get your USB stick, you have to collect some seal poop and you have to deliver it to these researchers, which the researchers have very kindly included instructions on how to identify and safely collect leopard seal poop, which they've said is good as gold.
Does it have to be wild seal poop? Because arguably you could just like go to a zoo, right? And be like, hey, so I have to do this weird thing.
Don't ask me why.
I was involved in a scavenger hunt a couple of years ago that was like you had to get little cubes of wombat poop.
Oh,
and I know we've talked about cubes of wombat poop on the podcast before, but yeah, I was like, you could just go to a zoo. They'd hand over some poop. Right.
Excuse me, can I have some of that poop?
Scientific purposes.
Yeah.
That's what I did it for.
So weird. But then it wouldn't be a good sample though, would it? Because they obviously want to examine wild examples. So yeah, if you are the owner, do us all a favour, see this story through to the end, go get that poop.
And then report back to us so we know who you are,
exactly.
What happened. Yeah.
That is gold. Yeah, I like that one.
That was
good.
good.
Thanks, seals.
That's adorable.
I look forward to the next seal story.
No, I kind of just hope that the seals were filming themselves. Just
selfies.
Wearing little red boots on the front, just hanging out in a kayak.
That's so funny. There is actually, we talked about it on the podcast before about a monkey who took a selfie of itself, and there was a court case about who's the actual owner of the photo. Who owns the copyright? Does the monkey own it, or does the camera owner operate it? I mean, camera owner own the copyright.
Or does the person who owns the stick on which it is saved on the camera own it? Because that could be a whole nother...
This actually went to court.
It's
crazy.
Do we know what the result was?
We do know what the result was, and I think the owner of the camera retained the copyright.
Which would make sense, because that's how it works for things like vocal recordings, for example. If you record me, I don't own this recording of my voice. You do, because you've saved it on your equipment.
But I think the people that were trying to argue that the monkey owned the copyright were like, well, it took the photo, and it's a non-human animal, but it's still capable of taking a photo, so therefore the copyright belongs to it. It's pretty insane. Anyway, we talked about it at length in a previous episode.
I'm going to have to go back and
listen to it. And yeah, dear listeners, go back and have a listen, because it's very funny.
Fact of the week.
Kate, would you like to hear a fact of the week?
I would love to hear a fact of the week.
Oh my god, I've got a good one for you. You haven't
I have not looked at the thing.
Good.
You told me explicitly not to look at it.
This is fantastic. You're going to
unhighlight it now, and I'm just going to be able to see it.
Okay,
but
look away.
Yeah, I'm not going to look. I'm not looking.
Okay. You might have heard it before.
Okay.
I hope not, because it's so good. But you're a smart cookie, so who knows. Fact of the week is Saturn's rings are, quote-unquote, only 100 million years old. Now, that might seem a lot, okay? But let's think about what else has been around for 100 million years. Put that in perspective, okay? Well, first of all, the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old.
Yeah.
Saturn is similarly aged, but its rings are only 100 million years old. To put that in perspective, crocodiles have been around for 200 million years. The dinosaurs died off 65 million years ago. And they've been around for God knows how long before that. So dinosaurs were around at the time that the rings around Saturn were being formed. So if a Stegosaurus, which lived about 100 million years ago, had a telescope, it'd be able to peer up into the sky and watch the formation of Saturn's rings. Isn't that fantastic?
I kind of want to make a Beyonce joke now.
Do it.
Which is just something along the lines of, did dinosaurs like Saturn so much that they put a ring
on it?
Like, thank you.
Love it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I love Beyonce so much.
I know you do. I do not love her as much as you do, I think is the... I love her, but just
Play her
not
at my
as much as
funeral. So good.
but yeah, I mean, I think it is one of those things that people kind of assume that everything in our solar system was...
Yeah.
This is the same age. And you're like, well...
That's time.
Oh,
You like
God.
that one?
I'm not paying you that one. But that idea of just, just because you associate them together doesn't mean that they're the same age as each other.
Yeah, and the universe is a constantly evolving and expanding and changing thing.
Yeah.
So in this sort of universal timescale, 100 million years is...
Drop in the bucket.
Like that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so many animals, plants and animals have been around for much longer on Earth than that. It's really crazy to think about.
Well, part of my brain's now how old's the moon? Because that kind of thing, right? Is
Sorry,
it's
dear
just as no,
listeners,
that's cool. It's because I've been looking at the moon stuff because this year's National Science Week theme for schools is Destination Moon. So my brain's kind of on moons. But
would you like to know the answer?
I would love to know the answer.
4.53 billion years old.
So it's the same age as the Earth.
Yeah, I'm just going
Give
to
or
check.
take?
The Earth is actually that old because it was a guess.
Yeah.
4.54 billion years
Okay,
old.
so the Earth is 0.01 billion years
It's older, yeah.
older,
Which is 100 million years.
which is 100 million years. So
Wait, no,
basically,
10 million years, sorry. Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
So one of those things where you're like, all right, everyone's assumption is that they are the same age. They're actually not the same age, and when you say 0.01 billion years, it sounds like nothing. You're actually talking about millions and millions.
10 million years.
Yeah.
You can't even fathom how long that is. And yet, sort of geological and universal timescale blows it out of the water.
Well, this is that thing of people's understanding of time, right? What is 1,000 seconds versus 1,000,000 seconds versus 1,000,000,000 seconds?
Yeah. 1,000 seconds is... How long is that?
Yes.
14 minutes or something like that?
Something like that. And,
a million is about 2 weeks.
And 1 billion is 33
31
years.
years.
Yeah. It's insane. And
Yeah.
people's assumption that 1,000,000 and 1 billion are very close. And they're
Not even
just
close.
not.
Yeah.
They're just literally millions of years different.
Put that very well.
Yeah.
It's like people talk, again, the perspective of time. When you're 10, a year is 10%
It's a tenth of your life, yeah.
But when you're 50, a year is 2%. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes,
2%
well done.
of your life. And so it just goes like that.
And it's that thing of people say, oh, the years fly by, and you're like, yes,
No,
because
they really do.
your brain is now comparing it to how long you have been alive.
Yeah.
So
which for some of us is quite a long time.
yeah, and for some of us is technically longer than you, but
Yeah.
I'm going to pretend like it's not. But it's one of those things where kids complain about how the school year drags, and teachers are like, I don't have enough time for all of this stuff.
Exactly.
Because it's the same time, but it's perceptionally
Completely
it's
different.
massively different.
There you go. What a weird way to end.
Yeah, that was that was fun.
I think we should get out of here because, Kate, you need to go to a school, don't you?
I'm going to go run a science club.
Woohoo!
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
We're going to do flower dissections.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice one. That was very interesting, but
They
maybe we can
are
talk about that another
fascinating.
time. Yeah. So that is a wrap on Physics Twist for this week. Thank you, Kate, for joining me. And don't forget, you, dear listener, can meet the wonderful people of physics at your school, vacation centre or birthday party. Just go to physics.com.au. Also, if you like this, you can rate us on iTunes. It will help us out. And we'll be back very, very shortly. I think Quill will be back soon. So I'm,
Couple of weeks, yeah.
I might be chatting to her.
Just having a little bit of a break.
She is having a bit of a break.
Having a disgustingly good time abroad, I think.
Yeah, in Japan. So, also if you'd like to hear some more thought-provoking discussions with leading education providers and other hot content, you can listen to the Physics Ed podcast run by our magnificent company director, Ben Newsom. Anything else to add?
Not really. I think people should definitely go give the Instagram,
They
Physics
should,
Twist
at
Instagram,
Physics
a
Twist.
good little like, and maybe sneak over to the Physics Ed Facebook page because you'll get all of this stuff pushed through so you know when new stuff's happening.
Happy days. Alright, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.